Lore Together is proud to be part of the Boss Rush Games Network. Feel free to find out more at bossrushgames.com/network. Hi, I'm Safi.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where a husband and wife team go over all the stories, characters, and backgrounds of the video games that we love because it's what we do together. We lore together.
Yes, and this is episode 31.
You may hear our little buddy in the background, who a lot of people appreciate as a feature, not a bug, and we hope that you all do as well.
Before we get into the episode, though, if you would like to contact us, you can do that on Twitter at Lore Together. You can do that on Instagram at Lore Together. You can do that through email at loretogether@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support us, you can do that by going to patreon.com/loretogether, where you can pay a per episode pledge to get episodes early. You can get access to our mini episodes, which we have one coming soon. We have our Patreon Q&A, which we have a Q in, so we'll get to the A soon.
Yay!
And I think that's about it for right now. We have a couple other things that we might do, but...
Right, exactly. And yes, the mini episode is coming. I swear.
You do have a new job, and you do have an infant.
So funny thing about the new job, guys, is that a bunch of states have new assistance programs to help with people with COVID-19. Guess who's helping with those projects? Me.
Yay.
I'm happy that people are getting assistance. It's just that every state does it differently,
right,
or is rolling it out at a different time.
Because the United States is not one country. It is 50 small countries jammed together.
Right. Mystic and I had this conversation earlier this week saying this is why it's so convoluted sometimes. We are specifically made to not agree with each other at all.
Let's go away from the current events.
Yes.
At least those current events. And let's get into other current events, such as the trailer that dropped recently for the new Mortal Kombat film.
Oh, my.
It's a couple weeks ago now at this point.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it looks very sweet. I'm a little conflicted of the new main character, but at the same time, that's not necessarily a bad idea. It's just a different idea.
Yeah, but introducing the character who doesn't know what's going on.
Yes, it does help the audience get into the swing of it.
People are really annoying when it comes to understanding that you cannot have just the super fan as your target audience.
Right, that's very true.
And they are also very annoying at not understanding what the term adaption means in relation to adapting something from one media to the next.
Right, exactly.
Because I cannot understand all the people who are annoyed that Melina is not played by a white person.
Was she even supposed to be?
Or at least a not black person. Because Sissy Stringer is black. At least I think she's black.
Wait. Okay, let's Google that very quickly before we...
Sissy Stringer does not match the game's look.
Right.
What the game portrays, Melina in the game is part Tarkatan.
Yes.
Never seen that in real life either.
Right.
So in our quick Google search for ethnicities, I saw somebody complaining that they race swapped Raiden.
Wait, what? So we watched the original Mortal Kombat.
Played by Christopher Lambert.
And he did a fun job. I mean, it's a fun movie.
Chewed the scenery a little bit.
Yeah.
By the very character definition, he is a god of lightning and thunder.
Yes.
The protector of Earthrealm. Mm-hmm. And most people who know him are in Asia.
East Asian descent, specifically, right?
So the fact that they cast an Asian actor as Raiden is not... It's stupid. It's called an adaptation.
Yes.
Go with it. Some things will be more accurate to real life. Some things will not be accurate to the fictional life.
Especially the things that are purely not
aesthetic.
Human fictional characters.
Also, purely aesthetic.
Yes.
Purely aesthetic. There's absolutely nothing in those characters that will change based on their race. The only thing that Melina has to look like is like Katana.
Right, that's true. That's
it. Anyway, so you might be able to tell we're talking Mortal Kombat. We're going to be going through...
And it wasn't a surprise to me this time.
It was not a surprise because I wanted to make sure... Because, let's be honest, the Mortal Kombat wiki I was using is very loud colors.
Yeah, and I was working from home today.
Yeah.
We've got it set up so basically the one day I work home on our recording weeks is the day we record.
Yeah.
Typically record, yeah.
So we're going to be going through some of the timeline for Mortal Kombat that's not the games.
Okay.
So we're going to do this in 5 parts. I basically, full disclosure here, I used a lot of the wiki timeline because the Mortal Kombat timeline is insane.
The wiki simplified it for you?
The wiki makes it easier to understand. So I wanted to do the wiki because it'll have more granular detail than a YouTube video probably will in terms of summation and everything. I know most of this stuff from playing the games, especially they started kind of filling this out more in the late 64 and through into the GameCube era.
Right. I'd like to say that that's around the era when people decided to start flushing out certain video game stories.
So anyway, we're going to break this into 5 parts. We're going to go all the way up through just before the famous Mortal Kombats in the game.
Okay.
So part 1, the one being the Titans and the Elder Gods.
So we're going way, way, way back in the beginning.
Yes. Long ago, at the beginning of time, there existed only the Titans, the Elder Gods, and the One Being. Who came first is of some contention, though.
Yeah, that would seem to be an important thing to figure out.
Mortal Kombat has a multi-split timeline, which we touched on back in episode 13 when we covered the realms of Mortal Kombat.
Right.
A last-ditch attempt to avert Armageddon spawned a new timeline with some drastic differences. One of them being, in the old timeline, there's the One Being, which spawns both the Titans and the Elder Gods. In the current timeline, the One Being is barely a thing. I think he's mentioned 2 or 3 times.
Oh, okay.
And the Titans spawn the Elder Gods. Quite literally, one of the Titans, Kronika, is mother to an Elder God, Shinnok.
Okay.
The One Being gained his power by draining it from the Elder Gods.
Wait, so the One Being begot...
Created the Elder Gods and then drained their essence, kind of. Just go with it.
It's like eating your own snot. That's just
Eventually,
gross.
the Titans and the Elder Gods set aside their differences and launched this attack on the One Being to save themselves.
Before they then fought each other again? Let me guess. Yeah, okay.
In the end, the Elder Gods created 6 weapons called the Kamidogu. In the old timeline, these are like talismans. They're basically like sigils, and they basically imbue power. In the new timeline, these are daggers used to invoke a type of blood magic. Either way, very powerful weapons. When they use these weapons, the One Being split into many pieces. Its consciousness still survived, though.
Okay, Horcruxes.
Yeah. The Kamidogu became lost in 6 different pieces of the One Being, which eventually became the realms.
So wait, 2 different magical essences morphed into the realms?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, the Kamidogu are actual relics with basically the One Being is... You know, we've actually covered something like this before. Think of the Elder Scrolls when we talk about...
Right.
Padme and Anu, and there's no entity. It's just a force of nature.
Okay.
The One Being is kind of like a sentient force of nature. It's not really... It is a thing, but it's not a thing. This is myth at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm understanding how little I'm supposed to understand.
Once you say it's myth, everyone's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then it's all allegory and symbolism. And
Right. A lot of this stuff is, like, the Titans are new to the franchise. Essentially, we'll say the One Being is an entity. Its force of life, basically, its ability to live is fractured into the realms, which spawn life inside of them.
Okay.
But its consciousness is ever present outside of it.
Okay, so the mind is separate from the body.
Right.
In the mythos. Okay.
I'm calling things a mythos when there's actually gods and demigods that deal with people and real. Yeah.
I'm going to say mythos merely because I think everybody in whatever video game universe they live in has the right to not believe.
At some point after this, the Titans and the Elder Gods have it out over how the realms should evolve and how to keep the realms in balance to prevent the One Being's return. Basically, if the realms manage to go back together, the One Being is back.
Because if anybody's ever had to sit through any kind of board meeting, you understand how contentious this stuff can be.
The other thing, we have actually dealt with this before, to draw back to Elder Scrolls again.
Yeah.
Like, the Titans, led by Kronika, the Keeper of Time, believe that the realms and their denizens should follow paths made for them.
So kind of more of a deterministic path.
Yes.
Okay.
The Elder Gods, having been drained by the One Being and had their lives used for the One Being's own designs and wants, believe that the realm should shape their own destinies. Fair
Free
enough.
will. So, okay, free will versus determinism.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this leads to a war over the fate of the realms. This kind of echoes when we're talking about Lorcan and the Magna-Gi and the Atada and stuff, and how
Yes.
creation, leads to this problem. And as this war goes on, Chronica starts laying out timelines already.
Like, I'm just not going to wait for y'all. I'm just going to start doing this because it's important to me that these things go on a predetermined path.
So it becomes clear to the Elder Gods that Chronica has to be stopped in order for the realms to have any autonomy.
Well, yeah, of course, that makes sense.
So Chronica is eventually defeated and driven into her keep, where she will remain for the time being.
Right, until plot decides otherwise.
Yeah. The fate of the other Titans after the war remains unknown, though it's surmised that a few survive from some endings of some characters.
Okay, so some Titans probably survive.
Yeah, I believe if you beat the game, if you beat Mortal Kombat 11 as Shang Tsung, you have, I think, him pictured with, 3 or 4 other Titans. I can't remember.
Interesting.
Yeah. At some unknown point, long after the creation of the realms, there existed an ancient race of reptilian beings, which were one of the first and strongest races to be born, called dragons.
There's always dragons. There's always
To be
dragons.
fair, the symbol of the game is a dragon.
It's fair in a certain respect, but also
There's always dragons.
There's always dragons. You have to understand, since dragons kind of supersede and are found in multiple different
In real life,
cultures,
yeah.
that it makes sense that you would then have a dragon be one of the most powerful beings across realms.
Here there be dragons. They were perceived by many to be the children of the elder gods themselves. These dragons were highly regarded, and soon allegiances were found between the dragons and the gods. One in particular we'll touch on later is the allegiance between the dragons Orin and Karo and the Adinian god Argus.
Orin and Dargo are the dragons.
Orin and Karo.
Dargo. What? Where am I getting this?
Dragons, it should be noted, were originally immortal and wielded immense power.
Okay.
Subsequent generations eventually lacked these qualities.
Was it bred out or pulled away because of Chronica or something like that?
More just the first ones were the children of the elder gods, and that just kind of weans itself away, that power.
Okay, the further further removed you are.
Part 2, the Dragon King. Outworld had dragons.
Right, and we talked about Outworld in episode 13, right? Okay.
But for some reason, they all left, save for one, who remained behind so he could consolidate his own power and rule the realm.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for him.
This was Onaga, the Dragon King, and one of those not immortal generations of dragons.
Interesting.
Onaga was the first emperor of Outworld, uniting the otherwise divided realm.
Wait, so who was he uniting? Because we've only mentioned dragons, but what other races were on that realm?
We mentioned that in episode 13, what other races were in Outworld, but we're going to be talking about, at this point, I believe the Shokan, and I don't think the Tarkatans were in there yet, because they were in their own realm still.
Right, the Cottons are not from that room, but they basically immigrated and stayed there. Okay.
But the Outworld before Onaga's time was divided into constantly warring kingdoms.
Oh, okay.
And there's a couple of those still exist, actually. We mentioned the Shokan.
Yes.
And their subterranean kingdom of Kuatan still exists. And if you don't remember the Shokan, they're the race of four-armed humanoids, Goro and Shiva. And
okay.
Yeah. The endless war between the kingdoms of Outworld was mostly due to the schemings of the Kafala Warlocks, which is a thing I had never heard of until I researched this.
Kafala Warlocks sounds like a kind of like falafel wizard.
They basically were influencing the leaders of all these disparate kingdoms and of Outworld in general. Mm-hmm. And their true end goal was more than just control of Outworld, but rather they were trying to bring about the Netherrealm's conquest of Outworld.
Interesting.
Yeah, as soon as that was found out, they were wiped out. But think more influences like Grima Wormtongue, like the trusted advisor whispering poison.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's my impression anyway. Again, I hadn't heard of these guys, and they literally have no Wikipedia page. They have a one-line thing on the page for Outworld.
These guys existed. That is all.
There's another group. I don't even mention them in my notes, but there's another group that's like, they were an ally.
Can I just say, referencing the Keith David episode that I'm still working on, I swear I'm still working on, I'll mention it in the episode, but there is literally a character he voiced. They said, oh, he did this in this game. I was like, great, let me look up this game. There's absolutely nothing. Okay. Not even on YouTube. Oh, okay. That's
Nothing,
where we're
huh?
at. I'll mention it in the episode, which patrons will be able to hear my befuddlement of like, what? But I was just like, to have somebody that famous in a video game and then just,
Right.
which he couldn't have been the only one on it that was of that caliber, and then to have it just disappear.
It's weird sometimes what stars will be in. So there is a game for the PlayStation 1, I believe. I think it might be for other systems too, but I know it's for the PlayStation 1 called Apocalypse, I think, where they had Bruce Willis.
Whoa.
And he was just going to play the sidekick.
Okay. I mean, that
And
wouldn't
then
be a
at some-
career first for him either. Really.
And then at some point, someone decided, why doesn't he just play the main character?
Oh, interesting.
But they didn't re-record his lines,
Oh no.
and they just put him in the game as the main character. So you're not. It's not Bruce Willis playing someone. You are playing as Bruce Willis.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's hilarious. I love it.
It's a terrible game from what I've heard, though.
It's okay.
Anyway, so the Kafala Warlocks are wiped out, but the Netherrealm army has already arrived. Onaga, in this campaign of unification, led the Outworld in the fight against the Netherrealm and won.
Woo! Whenever something starts with the qualifying word nether, you assume evil. So I'm rooting for him in this instance.
Yeah, the Netherrealm is hell. Or Hades or whatever.
Exactly.
And so saying it's evil is kind of yes and no. It's not entirely accurate. Anyway, so with the aid of some of his allies, Onaga begins to conquer the other realms, merging them to add that realm's power to Outworld and expand his ever-growing empire.
Okay, well that's when you've gone a little out of hand, good sir.
Onaga's secret to victory was his undefeatable and seemingly invincible army. Onaga's heart gave him the ability to raise the dead, allowing him to revive his dead soldiers continuously.
Oh, that sounds like slavery, if you ask me.
However, Onaga wished for immortality. That was kind of his goal. Using the last dragon egg, his followers formed a spell that would transfer his soul into the tiny dragon inside with it and be granted eternal life.
Oh.
Remember, he's one of those dragons that's not immortal.
Not immortal, yeah, exactly.
The other gods didn't really like this consolidation of the realms
Well, yeah.
because it might lead to the one being. So they put a protector in each realm and also instituted the actual rules of Mortal Kombat, which is basically a bureaucratic buffer.
I like the idea that when they first announced it, here are the rules for, and that starts the song, Mortal Kombat! You have to get through the whole song before you finally get
Every
to the
time someone
rules.
says Mortal Kombat, you have to listen to the whole song.
And break down.
So it can be held once every 50 years. No realm can decline a challenge,
Oh, okay.
but no realm can invade without winning. So
Okay. So basically, you have to win the Mortal Kombat before you can start the invasion.
And I think I'm pretty sure even at this point in time, you have to win it 10 times in a row.
Wow.
So that's 500 years.
You have to be invested, is what they're saying. Like,
Well,
you
most
have
of
to
these
be
people,
truly
like
invested.
outside of Earthrealm, a lot of the major players live like thousands of years.
Right, that's
Or
what
are
I assume.
immortal themselves.
Yeah.
So every realm has a protector. The Elder Gods chose Onaga's former trusted advisor, Shao Kahn, to become the protector of Outworld.
Okay.
However, his lust for power was also immense.
Power. She's pretty attractive, I gotta say.
And so he soon poisoned Onaga and took control of Outworld for himself.
Yay.
Unlike Onaga, though, he was unable to rule the realm united. Part 3, The Future Prophecies.
Oh, now there's prophecies? Great.
Sometime after Onaga's death, Shao Kahn commanded the armies of Outworld and carried on Onaga's legacy of attacking the other realms. No big shock.
Mm-hmm.
The Edenian protector god Argus, whom we mentioned before, and his sorceress wife, Delia, had two children, Taven and Dagon.
Taven and Dagon. Okay.
Argus also had a third son due to an illicit affair with that third son was named Rain, making him, Tavan, and Dagon brothers. Rain comes into play later.
Tavan, Dagon, and Rain sounds like a power ballad trio that I would love to see at the Metro. I'm all for this right now.
So at the time of Shao Kahn kind of expanding, he attacked Edenia. At this time, Delia was also having visions and premonitions.
Uh-oh.
One of the events was the prophecy of Armageddon.
It's always Armageddon. I'm tired of Armageddon. It's so tropey. Just leave it alone, guys. Leave it alone.
Well, here's the prediction, actually. She predicted that the Mortal Kombat warriors would one day grow too powerful and too numerous if left unchecked.
So anybody who's competed in the tournament would just...
Also, anybody of that skill. So their intensifying combat would bring about the destruction of all the realms, bringing about the apocalypse. The Elder Gods demanded a safeguard be put in place in order to prevent this from happening, one that would make use of the combatants' insatiable bloodlust. Like moths to a flame, this is literally taken from the opening of the Armageddon game.
Okay.
Which is why we have such...
And Armageddon, was that the one on the N64?
No, the one on the 64 was... So 64 had Mortal Kombat Trilogy...
Okay.
Which was just the first three games kind of put together. It also had Mortal Kombat 4.
Okay.
And Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero.
Why do I feel like we played Armageddon on the N64? I'm trying to remember because there was definitely...
It was on the Wii.
There was a Mortal Kombat on N64 that I used to play at my aunt and uncle's place because my aunt married a man who was into console games. Well, specifically Nintendo. So, and that's why we got introduced to Nintendo as kids. So, why do I think it's Armageddon? I don't know.
So, like Monster of Flame, they would be drawn there to battle. They left this task of making a safeguard to Argus and his wife. Delia also foresaw that the climax would take place at a crater within the Edenian Southlands. For this reason, Argus had a pyramid constructed underground at this crater.
Wait. We have a pyramid constructed under a crater. This sounds counterintuitive entirely.
Well, literally the opening cutscene for Armageddon is the pyramid just erupting from the ground.
Just like a spike out of a ball, like...
Yeah, pretty much. Well, Delia creates a fire spawn known as Blaze. Blaze would contain the power needed to stop the Mortal Kombat warriors. So, literally a flame.
Okay.
So, literally the moths to a flame. Now, again, we have some disagreement as to what is the preferable outcome.
Okay.
Argus wanted all of the warriors destroyed. Delia, however, was more merciful. She simply wanted to strip them of their powers. Their solution, and this is some insanity...
Let's just do half and half?
...was to put their two children in competition, and whichever one defeated Blaze would be gifted the power to become the new protector of Edenia.
What?
On their way to confronting Blaze, each brother would have to retrieve a sword from one of their father's temples and a suit of armor from one of their mother's temples. All of these were in Earthrealm. One suit of armor would mean that all of the Mortal Kombat warriors were destroyed. The other suit would mean that they were stripped of their power. It's basically a 50-50 coin toss in design.
What? Oh. Yeah, but why? No. And then what? Okay.
As the wiki points out in this lovely line,
yeah,
there is always a chance that the coin lands on its side.
So, yes, that's the difference. So, if anything, it's more like a 3-sided die. And can you imagine the awful family reunions after that? Well, I guess I'm not invited to Thanksgiving since I couldn't even get the right suit of armor, Dad. Thanks. All I did was risk my life for all the realms out there, and the thanks I get is a footprint of my brother's on my face. Thanks. You guys do not get pumpkin pie this year. I'm staying home watching football.
Argus listen to this part. This is dysfunctional family at its core.
Right, yeah. There's no way. There's no way.
This is the dysfunctional part. Argus initiated the plan to save the realms and had the two brothers summoned to his temple in Edenia, where they were ambushed and placed in stasis.
Wait. What? So these two guys are going out because their dad told them to, and then their uncle says, actually, your dad wanted me to capture you. I'm understanding this correctly?
They were both placed within the mountains somewhere in Earthrealm with a dragon to watch over them. The gold dragon Orin watched over Taven, whilst the red dragon Kero watched over Dagon.
So then why were they put on this mission in the first place? Does Delia know this is happening?
They're basically there to wait for a signal to go and start their mission. Basically, they're in stasis until Blaze is activated. We'll get there.
Oh my gosh, guys, I'm just rolling my eyes in the back of my head. It hurts so much.
You're rolling your eyes worse than the Toad names in Paper Mario.
So
at least those had charm.
okay.
I love Mortal Kombat, but when they get like some of the stuff that they do reeks of trying too hard.
Okay, I'm all for campy, right? You know, campy or cheesy things. You know, it's kind of like sugar in a dessert. Sometimes you want something that's a little bit more about the overall flavor profile, you know, like tiramisu. So it's sweet, but it's not super sweet. And then you get something like Paper Mario, where the point of it is that it's almost saccharine sweet. It's like a cupcake. It's really,
but there's some interesting texture to it at least.
Yeah, you can have different, like especially if you're getting like a rich chocolate cupcake. Yeah. You know, you've got a really sugary frosting. You've got a really sugary cake. Sometimes you've got a little like goose sauce in the middle, like maybe some raspberry jam, and it's great. And then sometimes you're literally just eating the dollar store frosting out of the jar and then putting chocolate sauce on it.
So it should be noted that a lot of this stuff with Argus and Taven and Dagon and all this stuff is all from before the first timeline split. And I think that's the developers going, this is getting out of hand, reset.
That's fair. That's understandable that they decided to write in a solution. And I'm not mad at it. What I'm more mad at is that the first problem ever existed.
So we're going to go into part 4 here. Chinook and the First Earthrealm War.
Chinook and the First Earthrealm War sounds like a story that Atreus had been read to by his grandmother. I don't know why my brain went there. That's just what it is.
Anna's reading some weird stuff.
I mean, she was before.
That's true. As the Elder Gods watched over these realms, one Elder God, known as Chinook, like Shao Kahn in Outworld, gave into greed and illusions of ultimate power, and wanted the realm of Earth for himself.
Power corrupts, and
but your title is already Elder God.
I think I mentioned before in the show that there's the saying power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, but I think somebody says it best is that power reveals. And once you have more power and what you do with it, it shows truly what your character is. And I think a lot of people who pursue power to a certain way, it just reveals that they are already power hungry.
Yeah. I mean, we also have to remember Chronica wanted to control the realms from the get-go, full timeline, everything determined. And Chinook's her son.
Ah, okay. So he's already got a little bit of that seed in his brain.
I want to say Raiden is Chinook's son, but I think that's just the terrible Mortal Kombat Annihilation movie weaving into my head, which you haven't watched yet. We'll expose that to you soon.
Wait. That should be a patron-only exclusive. Our reaction.
Live reaction of you watching it.
Live reaction of me watching Mortal Kombat Annihilation. We'll do a recording of it as a video. I don't know if we could do it on YouTube, but we could do a recording of it as a video, and it's just me just spouting nonsense. And
basically, it's going to be a commentary track by you.
Probably cursing and just Shakespearean insults, and we'll figure it. Anyway, okay, we're just spouting ideas now. Sorry.
However, the Elder Gods had appointed the God of Thunder, known as Raiden, to protect Earth.
Is there any jokes about Raiden being Thor at the same time, or is it just...
Blaze, meanwhile, this is years later.
Blaze,
the elemental.
The thing that's in the pyramid under a crater?
Yeah. Somehow has been enslaved by priests faithful to Onaga, and he's watching over this last dragon egg.
Wait, that's a lot of stuff that happened in the background there.
Yeah.
I just want to say that's its own D&D plot that we just completely missed.
I played all the Mortal Kombat games. I never played Shaolin Monks or Special Forces, which was a Jax-specific one that was really bad. That's like the low point of the franchise right there. But I never played those two, and I never actually played Armageddon. I played all the ones from... I played Deadly Alliance, Deception. I think Armageddon is the third one in that arc. And I never actually played Armageddon because I never had a console that I wanted to play it on.
Okay.
Because the only console I could play it on was the Wii.
Oh.
And it had motion controls.
Fighting games with motion controls are just really difficult.
And I was done with it then.
Everybody thinks that it would be cool to be like, oh, it's going to be like you're actually punching and everything. And it's like, that's exhausting, actually. Yeah. That's why I want a joystick.
So I knew none of this stuff because I'd never played this particular game.
Oh, okay.
But then I picked up again when they did Mortal Kombat 2011.
Okay.
Was kind of the reset, and that's the one immediately after Armageddon that deals with this got dumb, let's reset, but still have it continue. It's weird. They want their cake and eat it too, but they kind of make it work at the same time.
We'll have to. I'll have an opinion on that when I know what the heck happens with that.
Eventually, we'll cover. So here's the thing. This is only the before the game stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to the games, and that's going to take 2 episodes too. But we're not going to do those next episode.
Okay.
So Blaze is sitting there on a pyramid, watching he's kidnapped from a pyramid underground. He is now over there watching an egg, and it's not soulless. And
just this image of like a man on fire sitting on Solus's forehead, like.
Shinnok tricks the dragon Karo into thinking the signal from Blaze has been sounded, basically because he lost contact with Blaze because Blaze is not where he's supposed to be.
Right. And
convinces the awoken Dagon that his parents, Argus and Delia, were against him. Dagon kills his parents, weakening Edenia and leaving in a state of anarchy, which allows Shao Kahn to just invade without a protector god opposing him.
Okay, so...
Back to dysfunctional family.
If you think imprisoning your son to be watched over by a dragon is a reasonable way to show, I trust you as an adult and that you can believe in your own life, even though we should have some shared goals. Come on, guys, really? This is not how people work. This is just, they're not your little dolls. It is literally the bad parenting coming back to bite you in the butt. Like, can just you and me, let's just decide this right now. Little buddy, once he gets to be a certain age, we're not entrapping him anywhere to wait for signals from anybody being guarded by any kind of mystical creature. Like, that's just not anything we have in the cards.
Don't think you have to worry about that.
Okay.
Shinnok, with the aid of other like-minded elder gods, and the one they mentioned was Melbogia, which I think is from Spawn, but apparently that's part of the canon since they put Spawn in Mortal Kombat 11.
Yes.
Okay. And apparently that's Shinnok's cousin. Whatever. How
many crazy Thanksgiving stories are we going to get from this series?
Turned his attention toward Earthrealm, whose Jinsei could grant him the power to become invincible. His Jinsei is Earthrealm's life force.
Okay, I thought you first said ginseng, and I was like, are we talking about supplements from the early aughts now?
There is actually a Jinsei chamber in Mortal Kombat 11. It's one of the locations you can choose for a level, and it's also a really cool scene in general. And it's just a really cool looking area. It's like a lot of floaty energy particles and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's the first place where Liu Kang fights Geras. We'll get there. Mm. The war between Chinook and Raiden was fierce. As a result of the conflict, Earth is basically near destruction and plunging into centuries of darkness. The Elder Gods were unaware of Chinook's treachery until Raiden discovered that Chinook's power was linked to a mystical amulet. It allowed him to weaken the borders of a realm and therefore enter the realm without challenge or interference and kept the elder gods at bay.
Okay, so he essentially broke the rules via jewelry.
Okay. And this amulet's throughout the franchise. You can see it in Mortal Kombat 11.
Well, yeah, because if you're like, oh, I don't have to fight people for 500 years, great. I can now just invade whenever the heck I want.
The elder gods intervene by giving Raiden a choice.
Uh-oh. Is this another... We're going to do something that's similar to a roll of the die or a coin flip, but we're going to make it needlessly convoluted?
He can destroy a whole civilization called the Saurian or risk handing over Earthrealm to Shinnok.
Wait, why? Why is that the choice? Why? Wait. We're going to let the guy we don't trust take over... I'm sorry. I thought we didn't want that? I thought we didn't want that. Mystic, what am I missing?
Here's the thing I don't like about fan wikis. You never have a source.
Really?
Rarely do you have a source. Halo, great wiki. You can find individual links to passages in books and comics and everything. Mortal Kombat, this whole list on the Saurians has no sources.
You know, that makes my little academic heart weep. As Mystic has commented, anytime I do an episode, it tends to sound like an essay, which means I like citing my sources. I love footnotes in particular. They're my fave. And holy crap. This sounds like a wiki that's not actually a wiki. Like, wikis...
The problem is it's a wiki without annotation, so you have no idea where someone's pulling from. There is literally one of the lines in here is the only source material is a podcast link that I couldn't open.
Oh, that's not good.
Now, I know it's legit because the guy who was on the podcast, based on the URL, like they had a name in there, I typed in the name. He's an artist who works on the Mortal Kombat comics.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, there's some legitimacy here. But, yeah.
But you couldn't verify that he said what they said he said.
Yeah.
See, that just bothers me so much.
Like, here's the thing. You will find, here's a list of all the fatalities for a character, but not like what...
This kind of reminds me of when the Colbert Report was a thing and fans would change Wikipedia based on what he said.
Oh.
Or what was in like his little thing, the word, where one of my favorite times in college was we were watching it and we were like, oh, you guys, and that was around the time we realized they were trolls who would change Wiki.
Oh, yeah.
And ruin their chance of ever being able to edit on that site again. Because of the fact they wanted to change it based on the show. And there was one time where the word was like something and they were trying to see if the definition had been changed. And that screen had been locked. But one of the phrases that was from his little speech, reality is a commodity, was literally all there was for the Wikipedia page for reality.
You know, this actually reads a little bit like Raiden is given a choice to destroy the allied Saurian civilization or risk handing the Earthrealm to Shinnok. Reads like one of those... end of game, like those mini bios you get when you beat a game.
Yeah.
That's what it reads like.
Right.
For a note, on the wiki, I couldn't actually find when Mortal Kombat as the tournament and the rules were set in place. I had to go to Reddit to find that.
This is a horrible wiki. We've had this conversation before, though, where, like, there are certain game wikis that are legit good. Like, Nukapedia for Fallout is fantastic.
Fallout's really good. Halo's really good.
The one for Dragon Age is fantastic.
Mass Effect's really good. Mario was surprisingly good.
But then you get a series where apparently people for whatever reason, the kinds of fans who are into the lore aren't into it in that level.
Right.
And it just and you can't figure it does. And I don't want to say that's inherently because Mortal Kombat's a fighting game. Because I imagine there's fighting games where the wiki is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. So it just really depends who were the people who gravitated towards making a wiki first.
Right.
Not even now, but the first people to do it. Because once a wiki's established, it's hard to be the competing wiki.
Raiden is basically stuck with a Sophie's choice between a civilization.
Too soon,
and
Mystic. Too soon.
And
I'm joking.
Or risking, like, he either has to destroy this allied civilization or risk Earthrealm falling to Shinnok.
Okay.
So he chooses to destroy the civilization and strip Shinnok of his amulet before banishing him to the Netherrealm. There are Saurian survivors. He doesn't wipe out the race.
But he wipes out most of where they live or something like that? Oh, man. There's just so many hanging chads in this episode.
Honestly, it's because it's hard to find detail. Like, I literally just looked up the Saurians. Mm-hmm. We cut out that listener. And there was nothing about why.
I hate these fan wikis sometimes. Why don't they care?
I love them and I hate them at the same time, right?
No, again, as I said, some of them are fantastic and some of them are just not manned.
I still think
at the same level.
Surprisingly, so we like Dragon Age.
Yes.
We like the Mass Effect one.
Right.
Surprisingly, the Jade Empire one is terrible.
Yeah, it's all about the fandom.
The Saurian actually had survivors. They didn't just destroy the whole civilization, and they received compensation from the Elder Gods for all of this. A new home in the free realm of Zetera.
Okay. Sorry that we decimated your
Yeah.
people for the sake of another realm entirely. Let's give you this free land that you never asked for.
Ooh,
nor
it's
is it
like
at your home.
reservation.
Yeah, it has a lot of those vibes, I would say. I don't want to say it's not a perfect allegory, nothing
Because
is,
we have no
but-
idea what Zetera is really like in reference to whether they actually liked it or not.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
we probably do, I just don't know off the top of my head. However, some of the Saurians decided to take refuge in the Hollow Earth instead, and so the Saurian race was divided. Now, if you ask me what Hollow Earth is, I got no idea.
Is that another thing the wiki failed to update you on?
Yeah, I could not find a single thing for Hollow Earth
You know
other
what?
than the Mortal Kombat timeline.
Listeners, if you have a better wiki or encyclopedia PDF or something we can reference in the future, this is such a vital game history series when you think about it. We have to figure out a place that's keeping the record better. We have to do Mortal Kombat
Yeah,
some respect when it comes to that. It's not just a fighting game when it comes to the world and what's created.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion, is that we have to do it right.
the Saurians who ventured to Zetera would rebuild their civilization until they too became a target to Shao Kahn's empire, while the Saurians of the Hollow Earth endured without interference. The exact date of this war on Earthrealm is unknown, but interpretations vary from around 65 million years ago at the KT boundary when the dinosaurs went extinct to around 8,000 years BC, coinciding with the flood myths in Mesopotamian, Babylonian, Christian, Hindu, and many more civilization mythologies.
So it's at least tied to some event that historically has been documented, whether it's a crater or a flood or something.
This later time would also coincide with the date of the Edenian War roughly 10,000 years ago, as well as potentially the destruction of Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu, Hyperborea, etc. So it's hard to nail down when this all happened because so many dates that work because mass cataclysm and destruction and everything.
Which, yeah, coincidentally happens a lot on planet Earth.
Now, whether it's known as Hell, Hades, Gehenna, or Pluto, the Netherrealm has existed since the beginning of time and has had many names. As it has always had the same purpose, to act as the final home for those who have done wrong.
So it's not even about dying, it's about having committed atrocities.
Yeah.
Okay.
When Shinnok awoke in the Netherrealm, he found himself under attack by Lucifer, the leader of the fiery realm. Lucifer used the souls of those whom Shinnok himself had banished to the Netherrealm to attack the Elder God. Shinnok was quickly beaten and found himself in the depths of hell for eternity.
But people can get used to anything for an eternity. That's the problem with,
All right,
with
Sisyphus.
that. I'm just saying.
Another legendary prophecy, unbeknownst to the Elder God somehow, was the return of the One Being. It was decreed that if one were to obtain all six Kamidogu and the sacred amulet, they would be granted ultimate power, infusing all the seven weapons into one and bring about the destruction of the realms. Raiden, in order to prevent this from happening, and not telling the Elder Gods apparently, created a massive temple deep in the mountains of Asia to house the amulet and appointed 4 guardians to serve as protectors of the amulet. Each of these guardians represented one of the elements of which the realm comprised: wind, earth, water, fire.
No heart? What is this?
As long as the amulet remained on Earth and in safe hands, Shinnok would remain trapped in the Netherrealm. For
don't wanna
untold years, the former Elder God Shinnok laid in torment from Lucifer in the Netherrealm until he stumbled across a mysterious sorcerer by the name of Quan Chi. Quan Chi was once an Oni from the Netherrealm. Onis are like little demon dudes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I've heard of Oni before.
Yeah. He has the ability to transform his appearance upon learning some sorcery and even gained the power to travel throughout all the planes of reality without detection from any of the gods. There's a lot of people who can defy the Elder Gods, despite the fact their names are the Elder Gods. Quan Chi told Chinook that he would help him escape from his prison and defeat Lucifer if Chinook accepted his proposal, power, and the right to rule at Chinook's side. Chinook agreed in desperation, made Quan Chi an arch-sorcerer, and the two waged war in the Netherrealm that lasted for centuries.
So he literally made a deal with a demon.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, there's no way this will ever screw me over.
They eventually beat Lucifer and took control of the Netherrealm. Chinook was now the ruler of the Dead Realm, but obviously was not content with his conquest.
Chinook wasn't?
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. It's the pursuit of power that's truly evil, not just having it.
Yeah. Part 5, The Terror Reign of Shao Kahn.
Uh-oh.
Shao Kahn, like Onaga before him, fought to build his power through conquest of other realms. When he took over the throne, he set out to eliminate those loyal to the old order of Onaga. He then began to attack and conquer many of the smaller realms, building his power until he was able to conquer every realm equal to Outworld size.
I see. So it's very almost like small investments to help, to build
We've
up.
covered the smaller realms in episode 13. Terra, Arniak, Tarkata, Hinpar, Vaeternus, and Oshtek. Soon, he laid eyes on the lush and fertile realms of Edenia. To take hold, he had to have his forces win at Mortal Kombat. If he succeeded, it allowed him to merge the two realms.
And this is the whole, has to do it every 50 years for 10 combats. Okay.
Despite the Edenian warriors' best efforts, Outworld won 10 consecutive Mortal Kombat tournaments, and Edenia's blue skies were ripped apart as the portals began to open. Hopefully they looked better than the ones in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. With Protector God Argus dead, and Tavon and the dragons in Earthrealm, Shao Kahn's armies invaded Edenia and could not be stopped. Khan annihilated the ruler of Edenia, King Jared, and took his wife Sindel as his queen, and adopted his daughter Kitana as his own.
Ugh.
After Sindel convinced Shao Kahn of her daughter's worth, Kitana was trained to join his personal guard as an assassin.
Interesting.
Sindel, however, seeing the effects of Shao Kahn's reign on the Edenians, and knowing that Earthrealm, Edenia's closest ally, would become his next target for imperial domination, chose to commit suicide in order to create a magical ward preventing Shao Kahn from stepping foot in Earthrealm and claim that realm.
Wow. Interesting.
Shao Kahn was not willing to let his beloved queen go so easily and held her soul in Outworld, thus stopping her transition to the afterlife. All of this is a lie.
Okay.
We'll get to the retcons another time. Long story short, Sindel is totally into Shao Kahn and his ways of doing power. So...
What? Wait. But then why the lie of that she sacrificed...
To save her face in front of the Edenians, and it's just...
So it's a propaganda thing, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a retcon people didn't really like that much. But
that she was also evil? They didn't like that as well? Why?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. A lot of the games that we'll get to deal with saving... Like, I think Mortal Kombat 3 is all about Sindel.
Oh.
I could be wrong, but I think it is. The terrible Mortal Kombat movie, Annihilation, is all about Sindel. And there she's also, like, not good, but not evil. It's weird. That's just a poorly written movie.
So it might be that all the fans were so used to the idea of having to save her from this conqueror that now to twist it on its head, it's like, P.S. you were saving a liar.
But like, I think the thing is that they keep using throughout the games. There's this thread of Sindel is under the influence of somebody.
Okay.
Because I think in Mortal Kombat 9, she goes on this tear that's badass, but very grotesque. And it annihilates like most of the heroes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It gets weird. But anyway, I was going to stop it there because the very next thing that happens is we start getting into the actual first Mortal Kombat that we actually humans take part in, which is the Great Kung Lao, which you may have heard before. Probably not, though.
Maybe.
Actually, yeah, you have, because I believe Liu Kang says that he is descendant of Kung Lao.
Yes.
So we'll get to that the next time we touch on Mortal Kombat, which don't know when. Maybe in April, maybe next month we'll touch on it again for an episode when the movie comes out.
Why not? I mean...
We'll have to get HBO Max to see it, though, because I'm not going to a theater.
Yeah, I think we have a way into that, Mystic. So, I mean, either that or basically our patrons will help us pay for it.
So that means you get to play back into Mortal Kombat next Thursday.
Are we continuing the same storyline? Because
I don't know, actually, because last time we just talked about the realms. This time we're talking about stories. So I may... See, my inclination is to go for something like Mortal Kombat Deception, but that would actually be the next thing we talked about, so I don't want to spoil that for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much. That's the thing. So we'll have to see. Maybe we'll just continue where we were, because then we're not spoiling the middle. We're only spoiling the most recent game.
Right.
But I think that's where we're going to end it now.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us in this crazy journey.
Fans, please
cite your sources.
Cite your sources.
Well. Okay. Sorry to be those nerds, but we are those nerds.
And thank you guys for listening today.
Yeah, thanks so much. I guess we will lore together next time.
Is that gonna be our ending now?
I'm fine with it. Hey, if you want to make that permanent, I'm all for it.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.